Dance Dosti is a programme for people with sight loss from a South Asian background. As part of the programme, we have created a series of tips to help other dance and fitness professionals adapt their classes for people with sight loss. Marketing. Think about how you market your classes or your activities. Where do you advertise? Are you advertising in places and in ways that people of all backgrounds and abilities can access? So for example, with people with sight loss, there are talking newspapers. You also need to think about how your copy looks. Could you use larger font? Think about not using colours that clash. So it's really important to reflect on where and how you are marketing. Open and advanced communication. If you're able and you know someone with sight loss is going to be attending your class, try to contact them in advance. It's really helpful to have a conversation to understand what their needs are and what their abilities are and how they like to learn. People have very different types of vision. There's no single type of sight loss. So it's important to understand how people like to be taught, if they're okay, for example, with physical touch, and what is the best way to support them during class. Front of house. The first impression of a place that someone's coming to exercise or to dance is hugely critical. Make sure if you have a reception or whoever's going to be the first point of contact are briefed that someone with sight loss is going to be attending. Make sure they know how to introduce themselves and that they show people to the space that they're going to be coming to and to other facilities such as the changing rooms and the lockers and how they work, for example. Orientate people to the space. People with sight loss can find it very helpful if you describe the room and the space that they're in. And it can also be helpful to walk people around the space, describing points of reference, entry and exit points, and helping position them in the class. Saying the wrong thing. A lot of dance and fitness professionals can worry about saying the wrong thing, but don't over worry about this. It's absolutely fine to say, "See you next week," for example. If you're not sure, you're absolutely fine to talk to someone and ask them how they like to be addressed, or just have a conversation about what is and isn't comfortable for that person, because everyone reacts differently. Voice. Remember to introduce yourself to someone who might be blind or partially sighted. And don't forget, if you're talking to someone and then you're turning away or leaving that space, let them know that you're leaving so they're not still talking. Welcome friends and family. A lot of people with sight loss might value coming along to a session for the first time with someone they know. It can help them feel confident and they might feel more comfortable dancing or exercising with someone that can help them. Over time, their confidence will probably grow and they might not need that person. So try to be welcoming and inclusive of family members and friends. Visual and contrasting language. Think about the language you use. Try to use visual language that can enable people to visualize what the move is that you want them to do. And try to be specific. So for example, rather than just say, "raise your hands," you might say, "raise your hands straight up to the ceiling." Likewise, try to use contrasting language such as high and low, or big and small. Anything that helps paint a picture of what people should be doing. Practice. As dance and fitness professionals, practicing is a huge part of preparing and delivering a good session. So practice for yourself, practice with other people. You can also record yourself. You can just record the audio and see if you can understand and follow just based on the audio that you're recording. But the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get and the more you'll be able to experiment and see what works for you. Feedback. Feedback is really important, both in class in terms of giving it to participants, because a lot of people, especially with sight loss, might not know how they look or how they're coming across. So words of encouragement and regular feedback during class is really helpful. But it's also important to get feedback after class to ask participants how they found the session, what's working and what's not working, so you can keep improving and delivering something that suits what people are wanting.